Extreme Collectibles here with what I would say is the offspring of Mr. Fantastic having sex with Nightcrawler and a dragon and a very skinny dude. Or, as my kids call him, the long, stretchy dude who teleports and shoots fire from Street Fighter. Let's check out Dhalsim. Dhalsim. I don't know, video game characters, you just call them whatever. Dhalsim, Street Fighter. Let's do it. Extreme Collectibles here with another addition to my Street Fighter collection. So if you've watched a few of my other video game statue reviews, I have one of those MAME arcade games that has 3,000 or 4,000 games on it. And pretty soon, actually, in the next month, I'm going to move it. So it's sitting in the middle, and on one side is shelving with Street Fighter players, and the other is Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter was my favorite game growing up. It probably still is. I rarely play video games anymore. It's one of those games you could beat with every character and play over and over. My favorite person was Ken, just because I could kick ass with him and his Dragon Punch. The original Street Fighters, not the original, but Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter, Champion Edition, stuff like that. So I decided to add Dhalsim for a few reasons. I currently have Ken, Zangief, Vega, Balrog, Ryu, and Blanca, and then M. Bison and Guile on order from Pop Culture Shock Toys, which is where this guy came from. But I ordered him because I always secretly liked the character. Kind of like I talked about in the intro, I just like some of his abilities. He has, Mr. Fantastic. He can stretch everywhere. He can blow fire. He can shoot fireballs out of his mouth. And he can teleport. So pretty cool. And this is the older version. There's a newer version of it. I wanted to get this guy. I wanted to get the exclusive. The difference between the exclusive and the collectives is the heads. So first, the exclusive has the head I show here with blowing fire out of it, which is really, really cool. And this, to me, this is an exclusive or bust, but just such a cool portrait. And then I believe the collector's edition comes with both of these switch outs. The first one here is kind of neat too. His mouth raged open, and then his closed mouth portrait. And speaking of it, so this, tree branch base is one piece, Dhalsim is another, and then his head. So it's really not that complicated to put together. I believe PCS made 300 or 350 of the exclusives, so I would guess like 500 of the collectors. I don't know for sure. I couldn't really find the info anywhere, and I only looked for like 10 seconds. It is a mix between Sculpt and mixed media. The original price was around $350. I got this guy. He wasn't brand new, but he looked brand new. He might have been. I mean, he wasn't advertised as brand new, but the packaging looked brand new, and he's super clean. I got him for $270 shipped, so really, really cheap. If you've ever bought a PCS or Pop Culture Shock Toys piece, most of them do not hold their value. It's just a sad fact. I've lost money on I had a lot of the third scale ones. I lost money, which is unfortunate. I actually just canceled my third scale Mike Myers this weekend. But very cool piece. I think it'll look great with the rest of them. That's some of the reasons I bought it. Dimensions, I actually, tape measure here. The widest point are his hands, which is about 14 inches. The depth is probably about 8. And then the top of the fire is 21.5. This is quarter scale. I didn't mention that. Just a unique piece. It's actually really, really cool. The more I look at it, the more I like it. Some of these are really, really good, to be honest with you. I can't believe they don't hold value. Maybe Street Fighter's not as popular now as it used to be. I haven't been to like a arcade in a long, long time. And, that's where it was the most fun, where you could just keep playing and, they'd line up to try and beat you. And they never could beat me. They never could. They probably could now. But let's jump into the concept and design. So Dhalsim, I think that's how it's pronounced. That's how I always pronounced it. Dhalsim, obviously a player from Street Fighter, one of the characters you could be or you would have to defeat. He was based in India, obviously, if you look at him. And here he is kind of perched on a tree, so he's not really in a fighting pose, but kind of a showing off pose. Hey, this is me, I'm ready to fight, this is who I am. And whenever he would teleport, he would have the Indian style, you know, he would also float. So he'd have kind of an Indian style position. So here he's kind of showing off multiple powers. The only cooler thing is if there's a switch out arm that made his arm go very long, which the newer version I believe does have that, but I didn't like a lot of different things on that. So he has the tree, which is kind of, you know, originating back to the roots of India. He's sitting here on top, and he's actually really light and he fits really well, so there's magnets that actually hold him in. It looks like he could fall at any time, but it's actually pretty well secure. The only issue I honestly have is there's a seam line, which there's gonna be with switch out heads. So I'd much rather have the switch out heads and no seam line, or switch out heads and seam line than no seam line and just a head I did not like. So phone was ringing. I think it's a realtor. I have to get like 6, 7 new office locations. Anyway, so that's really it about concept and design. Very cool. I like what they did. I like how some of the Street Fighter pieces are kind of static and, well, he's not really static, but stoic, almost a museum piece. Then some are in a dynamic pose, like the Ken is, Zangief is. Some are kind of a combination, like Vega. But so it goes really well with all of them. Jumping right into the paint and sculpt, I think PCS did a great job. First, I really like this base. It's simplistic, but it works really well. I like how the trees are kind of coming out of the base. It almost reminds me of like a T1000 liquid metal type thing. And it's a good solid black color all throughout. And just the different branches on the trees and the detail, which some of that is concept and design. It's not meant to be necessarily tree bark. So it looks really, really good. And then talking about his mixed media really quick, he has, you know, some mixed media around his wrists, which I'm assuming are there to cover up his. No, I guess he doesn't have. Seams. So I don't know why they're there. They're probably accurate. I should go play Street Fighter and find out. But he has the mixed media here, and then he also has it on his pants, obviously, and then he has a mixed media rope belt holding it together, and it looks good. It does look good, and as you can see, he also has those that same cloth around his ankles, and it looks really good. And then going to Dhalsim's skin, so it's really the same skin color throughout. Let's talk about the color first. Very, very good job. It has quite a few different browns and blacks in there, and different shades at different parts. I really like it. I think they did a great job. Musculature throughout his body, it's really good on his legs. You know, it shows that there's some strength. It's trying to kind of show that stereotype of, you know, an Indian, you know, being very skinny, maybe not having food, but he's very lean, lots of muscle, which he would be if he's fighting guys as big as Zangief and Blanca and all them. I say Blanca. Is it Blanca? I say Blanca. So very, very good job on the musculature. And then on his chest and back, it is kind of overkill, in my opinion. It's a little too much, but it looks badass. So I think the sculpt is really, really well done. And here you see both the front and the back. But it's almost way, way too much if you're thinking about concept and design. But as far as sculpt goes, it's really, really good. And that same kind of flows with his biceps and triceps and arms. Jumping back to his feet really quick, the only thing, and it's kind of hard to see, in between his toes, there's not some clear definition. They could have done a little bit better there, and I don't know if it's a paint issue or a sculpt issue or a production issue, but otherwise his feet look good. And lastly, his portrait, looking at his fire portrait here, great representation of Dhalsim. I really like that they, you know, maintain the player one paint, the red stripes going down his head and on his cheeks. And then I like the fact that there's, you know, some definition in his ears and right around his eyes and nose, and they had even the eyes painted white. And I apologize, I keep my phone keeps going off. That's why I keep hesitating. But last part is the fire. This almost makes the piece. It's still a great piece without it, but this fire looks fantastic. There's so many different colors in here, and just the sculpt of it and the design, I think they did a really, really good job, and it really just knocks the statue out of the park. So not a lot of people looking for this guy, but he goes for really cheap. So if you have a Street Fighter collection, whether it's the Pop Culture Shock collection and you're looking to add to that, or there's all these new pieces coming out, both from PCS and Prime 1, which I can't imagine. I don't want to switch up some of my characters, especially since I've already paid for them. But really, really cool piece. I highly recommend it. I didn't mention he has mixed media metallic bracelets, which is probably accurate to the game, which cool little effect. I like it. I didn't mention that, but if that's really the decision why you do or don't buy this statue, that's kind of stupid. So really appreciate watching. Let me know what video game pieces you have. I do have, or no, I don't have it anymore. I do have a Witcher Aridin piece at my office, but other than that, I just have Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. So let me know what kind of video game pieces you collect. And let me know what kind of video games you play, because I don't ever get to play them anymore. It's been like 20 years, but my kids play them all the time, and I'm down here playing with dolls. So really appreciate watching. Please like, please subscribe, please leave me a smart-ass comment. Thanks so much. Take care.